Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. And today I wanted to talk about the Aquaman film. And just to be clear from the beginning, this is not a review of the movie. I have not seen it. I have no plans to see it. And this is more of an explanation of why I have no plans to see it. A lot of people are telling me that it's a great film, it's really wonderful, I should go see it, I need to go see it, they want to hear what I think about it, and so forth. But I have no interest in seeing it, and I wanted to explain why. I don't doubt that it probably is a great film. The director is a fine director. I've enjoyed a lot of his other movies, and from the trailers, it does seem that he's taking a more lighthearted, fun adventure angle on the story, so that seems great. But I'm not interested in the film because the very foundation of the movie is a deal breaker for me. Now, not everybody will feel that way, and I'm not trying to convince people that they should not see the movie or anything, but I wanted to expand upon that just a little bit, explain why it's a deal breaker for me, but also explain what I think are the consequences of that, whether or not people decide to see the film or not. Ultimately, Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, Shazam, ultimately, the DC Extended Universe is a lame duck universe. It is fated to end. It's living on borrowed time. And it's all because Warner Brothers is trying to have their cake and eat it too. And I'll explain what I mean by that. They'll probably be very popular. Some of these movies might make them a lot of money. Aquaman seems to be doing very well. I'm sure Wonder Woman 2 will bring in some money and so forth. So they might make a bit of money at the end of this lame duck universe. But because of the way they are approaching it, it's never going to go anywhere, and it's never going to blossom into anything that could be really wonderful for the fans and that could make them even more money, because they're so boneheaded, they're so short-sighted. It's just so ridiculous. So let me explain. First of all, the reason why the very foundation of the film is a deal breaker for me is because no matter how wonderful the story is, no matter how great of an adventure or wonderful a movie it is just in itself, it's still set in the Zack Snyder universe. And no matter how much they try to tell a different kind of story, no matter how much they try to lighten things up, it will always have the stink of Zack Snyder's foundation, because that's what it's built upon. Jason Momoa is a horrible choice for Aquaman, in my opinion. He's going to work for your average person because Aquaman isn't a character that's really ingrained in your average person's consciousness. They don't know what to expect from anybody, so Aquabra is just as good as anything else. But he's not Aquaman for your average comic book reader. It's a very different take on the character. And even though this film, and the same thing can be said for Shazam and Wonder Woman 2, even though these movies are trying to forge their own path and break out in a new direction, they insist upon referencing the films of the past. They insist upon asserting that they do take place in the universe in which Justice League happened, in which Batman v Superman happened, in which Man of Steel happened. Warner Brothers had a great opportunity here to achieve a soft reboot without even having to come out and admit that it was a reboot. They could have just made these films without any references or any mention whatsoever of the films that preceded them. And then within time, as these films grew in popularity, if they do, then they could go ahead and reintroduce a new Superman, a new Batman, and reintroduce new characters with those origins and whatnot, all portrayed in a better light and told with more iconic stories. That would have been fine. But no, they didn't do that. They insisted upon placing these references and these little Easter eggs and these little mentions of the previous films. I can only imagine that it's because they simply cannot admit defeat. Warner Brothers has had this problem from the beginning, and it's only gotten them into more and more trouble with each passing film. They refuse to admit that these movies were the wrong treatment of these characters and that their universe is a flop and that they needed to reboot. They refuse to do that. Even now, when it seems like they were tacitly admitting that, even with the vast drastic changes that they're bringing into the films and the tone and whatnot, they're still insisting on placing those references in there. So why is that a problem? I know the average person probably isn't going to care about that as much as I do. For me, somebody who dearly loves Superman and Batman, I'm just not going to have any fun watching a movie about even watching a movie about a completely different character and maybe a good treatment of that character if it's telling me that it takes place in a universe in which Superman was Hamlet and Batman was Murder Man and so forth. I'm just not interested in that. I can't do it. Now, your average person isn't going to feel that same way as I do, and they'll go to see the movie, and the movie will probably make a lot of money, and that's great. So what are the consequences? Well, the consequences are, think about it, you've got Warner Brothers owning this DC property. They finally seem to, like, let's say Aquaman is a great film. Again, I haven't seen it, but let's say it's a really great film and it's really just nails how to portray a superhero in a film. And let's say they've really kind of learned that lesson. And going forward, let's say Wonder Woman 2 and Shazam really achieves that status as well. I don't think those films will, but just let's say they do. DC could really develop their universe then. They could really rock it out. They could keep expanding with some of these fun side characters. They could do a Booster Gold, Blue Beetle movie and whatnot, but then they could really bring it back and do a killer Batman movie, an amazing Superman. They could really finally give us a Justice League movie that those characters deserve and that we fans certainly deserve. They could finally make it all right, but they won't be able to now, because as they make each film and as they continue to link them all together, no one cares about Hamlet Superman. Now, I know I will get comments from, the 2 or 3 Cavill Superman fans out there. I really like Man of Steel. Well, good for you, but you're wrong. That movie was a horrible, horrible treatment of Superman. It was the wrong approach to the character. Batman v Superman was the absolute wrong approach to those characters and to their universe. You don't take a dark, edgy Elseworlds approach to the first cinematic pairing of the 2 most iconic superheroes in the world. And that's just an accepted fact now in culture, no matter how much certain Snyder fans want to whine and bemoan and try to say otherwise. That's pretty much established now culturally that those movies were incorrect. They were not the right approach. Justice League, in trying to smooth it all over and trying just to say, okay, it's fine, we'll just course correct. Look what we got. We got Justice League, which was just a joke, an utter joke of a film. So instead of admitting defeat, instead of admitting that these movies were horrible and we're going to do the right thing from here on out, they went ahead and seemingly took a better approach, but insisted on linking them together. So what are they going to do? They can continue to make films about some of these lesser-known characters, and they can ride that out for a while, but they're going to be giving up all of the money that they could be making on that great Warner Brothers cash cow Batman, at least as set in this universe. I know there's still the Batman movie that may or may not still be happening. I don't know what the reality behind those rumors are, what they're telling us about that is. And I don't really care what the little rumors keep cropping up about here and there. I'm pretty sure that Henry Cavill's Superman is over. Ben Affleck's Batman is over. I don't see either of those actors really returning to that role because I don't see anybody wanting them to. We've already tried the whole, let's just make Henry Cavill the real Superman. Let's make him smile. Let's make it. And we got Justice League. And it just didn't work. His character's already established as the dark, whiny, emo. Ben Affleck's Batman is already established as the dark, vengeful, just really more of a joke than anything else. So they could make a lot of money by introducing a Batman and a Superman into this lighter-hearted universe that they seem to be going for now. But they're burning that bridge by continuously providing all of these references to Man of Steel and Batman v Superman because they're saying, nope, these films, lighthearted, fun, adventurous as they are taking place in that same universe. Deal with it. Well, okay, but now you get to deal with the fact that you lose all that money that you could be making. You can only go so long making films about the lesser-known characters and trying to flesh out these fun, adventurous stories about these other characters when you've got the most iconic superheroes in the world who are slowly becoming not the most iconic superheroes in the world because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been pushing their heroes while you've been giving us nothing but poor cinematic portrayals. So that's what I mean by the DC Extended Universe is a lame duck. And it's ridiculous when they try to claim they don't even have a shared universe. No, we're just focusing on the standalone movies now. Well, that's not true. That's not true, or you would stop linking them together. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Warner Brothers. So that's why it's just not worth it to me in the long run. As a big picture kind of person, is somebody who likes storytelling on, yes, the micro, but also the macro level. I understand these films as part of this new genre of the shared cinematic universe, and I demand that it be taken seriously. I'm just not interested in going in and just ignoring X, Y, and Z so that I can enjoy the A, B, and C of a movie. especially not in a universe with characters that I care so deeply about. So that is why I have no interest in seeing Aquaman. I'm glad it seems to be a great movie. I'm glad a lot of people seem to be enjoying it, but no, I'm not going to see it. So thank you very much for telling me how much you love it, but I'm not going to go see it. I'm not going to review it. I will probably watch it out of curiosity once it comes out on DVD, and I'm not going to have to pay for it, but it's not something I'm going to support or promote in any way. I think it's incredibly sad that Warner Brothers is hurting themselves and the fans by establishing and continuing this lame duck cinematic universe. I don't know what will happen. I imagine that if a Batman film does eventually rear its head, because it's bound to at some point, I mean, they just are not going to be able to leave that character alone. I think that it will end up being set in its own continuity. And that will be a good thing, but then that will sever ties with all of these movies they're making right now that people are excited about. Because if they want to make a new Batman film in its own continuity, and let's say it's very popular, and then they want to make further films of that, well, then they will have two different cinematic universes that they'll be pushing at that point. And I don't think Warner Brothers has the know-how or the wisdom to push both of those at the same time. And I see this lame duck one eventually fizzling out. But I would like to know what you think about the future of the DC films. How do you think this could be done? How do you think a reboot could be achieved at this point? Because it certainly can't be done through the films they're making now and just the constant references to the old ones. Let me know your ideas on how they can get out of this corner they've painted themselves into. Thanks for liking and subscribing, sharing the video around, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.